Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Aloha again, everyone, and welcome to a special presentation tonight with Maria Harvey, Director and Chief Research Coordinator for the Hawai'i Uncharted Research Collective, presenting on whale shark research here in Hawaii. We're all very excited that you're here. I'm Jill Wirt, your MC, and I'm a project manager at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. Tonight's presentation is part of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean speaker series, usually held on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. Maui Nui Marine Resource Council is celebrating 14 years of working for clean ocean water, healthy coral reefs, and abundant native fish. This monthly series is supported by the County of Maui Office of Climate Change, Resiliency, and Sustainability. A few things before we get going. You'll notice that your microphone is on mute. Please keep it on mute to avoid any distractions. We invite you to submit any questions by using the questions button on the lower edge of your screen, and we'll leave time at the end of the presentation to answer some of those questions. And now it is my pleasure to briefly introduce our presenter. Maria graduated from the University of Hawaii in 2009 with a bachelor's degree in marine science and is currently working on her graduate degree in fish, wildlife, and conservation biology. Maria's love for the ocean, education, wilderness, and research has taken her all over the world in recent years. Notably, Maria has worked in Alaska, Hawaii, Canada, Mexico, and Cape Cod. During her travels, she has worked as a captain, naturalist, expedition guide, assistant researcher, and currently a level 4 marine animal disentanglement specialist. Her work and studies have encompassed a variety of species, including spinner dolphins, humpback whales, right whales, bottlenose dolphins, leatherback turtles, and whale sharks. In recent years, Maria has been a guest lecturer and distinguished speaker for private universities and cruise operations, including the University of Pennsylvania's Veterinary School, Georgetown University, and UnCruise Adventures. In 2017, Maria formed Hawai'i Uncharted Research Collective, a research nonprofit that provides an avenue to couple her research and education background with her love for the Hawaiian Islands, ocean conservation, and the charismatic whale sharks that inhabit the deep blue waters of the Pacific. In her free time, Maria loves to travel and backpack. Just last year, she completed the 211-mile John Muir Trail. When she isn't on the water or hiking, she loves to spend time with her two beloved golden retrievers, Samantha and Palmer. One day, Maria would love to own an animal sanctuary in honor of her favorite four-legged critter, Melvin the pig, who appears to be on social media at Melvin the pig. Thank you so much for being here, Maria. We're very excited to hear about your research. I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jill. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm really looking forward to sharing a little bit more about whale sharks here in Hawaii. So as Jill mentioned, I'm the director of Hawaii Uncharted Research Collective, and we were formed in 2017. So we're getting ready to celebrate our 5 years of operating here in Hawaii and doing research on whale sharks. So we formed this whale shark initiative after I was working in Mexico in 2016 and met Denny Ramirez of Whale Shark Mexico, who gave a presentation on whale sharks out of La Paz and was basically speaking to how there are not much known about whale sharks in Hawaii. So there was no kind of effort to ever do that. And it was a gap in the global research understanding for whale sharks. So we were trying to figure out where our whale sharks fit into the global scale. And despite them being an endangered species, little was known here. So there was a niche that needed to be filled, and Hawaii Uncharted kind of stepped in to take that. And we figured with the amount of people bringing waterproof cameras, GoPros, cameras that can dive down and get a photo ID shot, this was going to be a much better effort as a citizen science project. So we decided to make it as a community-based effort so that we can move forward and understand this species a little bit more. So I got together with my two colleagues, Travis Marcoux and Stacia Marcoux. They are our chief technical scientists and chief research scientists here at Hawaii Uncharted. This is a photo of us from the 5th International Whale Shark Conference that was in Western Australia in 2019 that we spoke at. And where we began was basically with starting a photo ID catalog. That was the first and foremost step to our research. And with that came a lot more questions. So what we decided to do was first start to collect sightings and how to submit a sighting. So what we did was first and foremost created a website, which you can find us now on HawaiiUncharted.org. This is a photo of kind of our older website. We've updated it a little bit. I apologize for my barking animals. But this is where you can always submit a whale shark to this day. If you were to encounter an animal, whether you have a photo of it or not, we take subsequential sightings, so anecdotal sightings if you see one, and you can submit it right there. So what the submission form looks like, we try to collect the date, location, any information about the animal that we can, so the approximate length or sex. We have any distinguishing characteristics, if there are scars, anything of that sort. And then what this will do, will collect the photos, videos that you have, and it will spit out a PDF for us that we can upload straight into our database. Now, building the database, we collect what we say the left side of the animal behind the gill slit. So the fifth gill slit on the left side of the animal, that is where we use photo ID. Now, right sides are also unique to the animal. I'll be showing some photos here shortly, but we don't use them for ID just because the international standard is going to be the left side of the animal from the fifth gill slit back to the dorsal fin. And when we use a program called i3S, this is an open source software that anyone can download. And we've created an algorithm basically to help us manually select spots and then go from there. So this is what it would look like. That upper photo is the section that we're going for, so that gill slit back to the dorsal fin. And then the bottom photo shows us manually selecting spots on the animal itself. Now the i3S will make calculations and give each animal an individual score. Now with that individual score, the database will search for individuals with a similar score. And with that, that's how we can start to narrow down the process of matching an animal or deciding if it's a new ID. Now that matching process becomes more accurate with the more information that the algorithm has. And it comes up with the top 50 usually, sometimes less, matches in the system. And then from there, that's where we go with our eyes and kind of narrow it down. So we do a two-match system. So a two-person match system or confirmation system. And that would be either myself or Stacia or myself or Travis would have to ID it to confirm it as new. So we use the i3S to narrow it down, and then we will confirm if it's a new individual or not just by visual. This is kind of an example. So it uses those calculations. We'll put it on a graph and be able to see how far the spots are from each other and at what angle. Now we also work with Wild Book for Whale Sharks. This is the international, basically ID catalog for whale sharks worldwide. And Wild Book has been collecting submissions for many, many years. But since there was no one kind of taking on the task of whale shark research here in Hawaii, they decided to pass it off to us once we kind of got formed. So we have the login for this. So even if you were to submit it to Wild Book, it is coming to us. And then we submit all of our whale sharks into Wild Book as well. So then we can match it with other catalogs internationally. So you can see this is one of our whale sharks from Hawaii, submitted off the Kona coast in 2016. And then you'll see animals on the right from Mozambique. Now, obviously this is not a match, but it will spit it out, basically telling us it could be, but we really want you to take a closer look at it to confirm it or not. And so far, since we have been doing this, we have 391 individuals, and I'll be speaking to this later. And so far, none of them have matched any other country. Now, we try and ask that when people submit, they're getting a photo from as perpendicular to the animal as possible. If it's over more than 30 degrees, we tend to not use it just because it's not getting an accurate look at the angle or the spots on the whale shark. So as you can see, this bottom left photo is an animal. And then if you can compare it to all the others, you will find that it is a match to that animal right there. So I'll go back, let you look again, and then take a gander at that. So it can be tricky because some photos that are submitted are a little bit less quality. So that's why we let the computer do most of the work, and then we'll take it from there. So here's another image of spots on a whale shark, and I'll give you guys just a second to see if you spot the match. So these were all spit out as similar or possible matches, and this is the animal that matches. So I'll let you look again and see if you spot how that works. And then one last one. This one is pretty easy because, like we say, there are scarring on some of these animals. So this one is a quick match to that, obviously. So when we ask for submissions, we definitely want the left side if you can get that, but we will take any and all photos or videos that you have, because we can build a full picture of the animal based on scarring, based on their spots on their left, right, top or bottom. However we get the submissions, we'll put it into the database and make a full profile of this animal. So you can see off to the left, we have an entangled whale shark with some scarring. We have most likely a shark bite, most likely a ship strike. And then we do have down in the bottom right, an animal that has seemingly been finned at some point in its life. So it's missing a complete dorsal fin right there. Now, a lot of people ask, since we ask on the submission form, is the shark a male or a female? And they're like, how do we tell? So we made this small graphic. This is done by Avery Williams, one of our volunteer or interns that we had, on how to ID the sex of a whale shark. And it's off of the claspers or lack thereof the claspers. So here in Hawaii, and I'll be speaking to kind of the size and age range that we are seeing, but we're seeing right on the cusp of juvenile to adult. So it is really difficult unless you're getting under the animal to tell if it is an adult or not. Now, a mature male, obviously the claspers are very visible, but a juvenile male, the claspers will not extend behind the fins, the anal fins, and the female is just an absence of claspers. So I'll show you an image. This is submitted, and this was submitted as a female through our submission form. And this is where we're going to want to be looking right there. Now, this is this right photo is what a female looks like. Okay. This is what a mature male and a juvenile male will look like. So the juvenile male on the left side, the mature male on the right. And if we go back to this photo, like I said, was submitted as a female, but then this photo also came along with it. And when you zoom in a little bit further, you will see that it is actually a juvenile male. So a lot of times we have to take some of these submissions and kind of filter through them with a grain of salt. If ideally someone can submit underneath the shark and we get a photo of that, we will confirm the sex, and then we will include that in the database. So what we are seeing here, we are seeing a size distribution of individuals around, kind of like I was mentioning, the reaching maturity to adult age. So our size is around, most of them, the unknown sex, is around 6 meters to 9 meters. And 9 meters is where whale sharks are generally thought to reach sexual maturity. Okay, so we're getting to see a lot of them kind of on that cusp of adulthood. And as you can see, with the citizen science effort, unless we have that photo or it's someone that we have trained personally, we have to kind of keep it as an unknown sex, just because it is quite difficult unless you're underneath the animal to confirm the sex of it. Now, a lot of people will say, what are we doing with the data? So this is where I like to kind of, go about and give you all the great information. But our database is just the first step. We're collecting information about each individual whale shark that's coming through here. And what we're hoping to understand is the overall population numbers in Hawaiian waters. With that, we're looking at population dynamics, whether it's a closed or open population, long-ranging residents, or just passerbys. And if they are passerbys, is it males, females, juvenile males, all that good stuff. So like I just mentioned, we are starting to see kind of the size range of juveniles to adults. And with all this information, we want to be putting out scientific publications and community outreach. And we have just submitted our first publication, looking at the trends of what we've seen through the submissions for the past 4.5 years. And then we did just come out with a global population with Gonzo, Dr. Gonzo. And kind of looks at basically 50 different countries and how our animals fit into the global scale. So I can actually share that later on with a link if you would like to read that. So why do we study whale sharks? Obviously, they are endangered. They have had a huge global decline in the last 75 years, over 50% of their population. Now, they are not listed as part of the Endangered Species Act because they're considered migratory animals through our waters. So what we're trying to prove is that they are here year round, which through our data, we have collected that they are. They don't have much seasonality. I will touch on that later. But we need to figure out how to protect them and how to conserve them, especially with such a global decline that they have been seeing worldwide. Now, the global threats, bycatch, directed fisheries, obviously that photo that you saw earlier in the presentation with that dorsal fin missing, shark fin soup. There are some bans on this in certain locations and others not. So it's definitely something we're looking at, especially with this animal coming through a couple of years ago. And then tourism, directed tourism efforts. So unfortunately here in Hawaii, we don't have any laws to protect the whale sharks from tourism and ecotourism. And a lot of these photos, whether they were taken from the website, we do get a lot of submissions that are very similar to this. So if an animal is seen, there tends to be an increase of people in the water with it, and there is no regulation with that. So unfortunately, when that occurs, it has been studied in other localities that the time with the animal actually decreases when the proximity to the animal decreases. And then we also see vessel strikes. So I'll go into these a little bit more in depth. So vessel strikes, like I just mentioned, this is an animal submitted by Morgan Otten. She is the owner of Space Fish Army as well, which is a clothing company. But she sighted this animal on May 16th, 2018. And then just a few months later in December, this was spotted by Jason Lafferty, I believe. And as you can see, all the people in the water following it. And this animal has a sharp diving behavior. This is considered a stress behavior when they dive sharply like that. And you can see all the injuries from a boat strike. These are all propeller marks on the animal. Now, this animal hasn't been seen again. However, we are starting to see more of these vessel strikes on animals around this area. And then one of our biggest threats that we have been seeing is actually entanglement. And this is something that I work with pretty close hand with whales, and something that we're now having to focus on more so with whale sharks, which is not something we had expected. But these are all different animals that you're seeing here, all different photos. So we have started getting our first reports of entangled whale sharks back in 2017, and that has continued on more so till today. So this is a photo or a video of, I'm sure you all have seen this, off of Lanai, I believe, a family over there that were spearfishing were out and encountered this animal. Now they were able to cut it off. It did take several dives to get down and completely clear the gear. As you can see, they had to come up for air a couple of times, remove the gear, and then dive back down to get it off the other side. Luckily, this animal was disentangled, but they all haven't had that same fate. So what we're working on is tools that we can attach to the gear with some sort of drag, like a sea anchor or a buoy, with knives on the inside of it, basically like knives on the inside of the largest carabiner you've ever seen. And that will allow the animal to swim away, and the drag will eventually cut through it. This video, which was on the news recently from Cascadia Research Collective, this is very thick hawser gear. It was thought to be about 5 inches. So with this, this can be a very dangerous situation. There is trailing gear. The animal was very skittish, and if the animal were to start to dive or kick, we wouldn't want anyone to be injured. So Cascadia actually did the right thing. I'm standing down in this situation. Now, this animal has not been resighted, but we are hoping that it will be. One of our entangled whale sharks that was worked on this coast and nearly freed in 2017 was seen 4 months later off of Kauai, and was freed off Kauai by, I believe, Holo charters, if I'm recalling correctly. But we are working with welders currently, a couple welders, to create this carabiner apparatus with knives on the inside that we can leave drag to and let it go away with the animal if the animal were to dive deeply, and then eventually dragging through. And we have similar tools like this for whales, and we're just adapting this for whale sharks. So this is a photo also from Jordan Lerma, who works with Cascadia Research Collective. So we are working on that currently, and we just ask that if you do come across a whale shark that is entangled, please, please, please do not attempt to disentangle the animal. Please call the hotlines that are provided, the whale hotline, Ed Lyman here in Hawaii, and he will let me know as my colleague, and we will try our best to get out there and disentangle the animal. Now, a summary of effort to date. We have over 2,600 photos and videos submitted. And as of yesterday, we have 391 confirmed new individuals. So those are confirmed animals that have submitted left sides, and they are unique to this area. Now, if we get a submission of an animal that just has a right side or a top, we have to, we do keep those in our database, but we categorize them as an unknown individual. And if later at some point someone submits a left side with a right side and that right side matches to one of our unknowns, we do run it through that as well. Then we can confirm that from that point. Now, we do have 597 separate sightings, and we have them from all of our islands, including the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, and that was a recent submission from the RV Nautilus, except for Kaho'olawe, obviously, but that's kind of all in that area near Maui and Lanai. And our earliest sighting that is submitted was from 1991. So even if you saw a whale shark before we were formed, we will take those sightings. We happily take retroactive sightings. And this is submitted by the Hawaii Marine Mammal Council. And then our deepest one was actually submitted to us by NOAA. And this was from their 2017 bottom fish survey. And it was actually a video of a whale shark swimming past their bottom fish cameras, and it was at a depth of 141 meters. So these animals are here. It could be that they're just not within our sight most of the time. And when they do come to the surface, that's when we are seeing them. Now, a lot of people have been seeing them on the pelagic nighttime dives off of Kona as well. So we get those submissions too. So like we say, we will take any submission from any time before we were formed and currently. So this is a video. Let's see if I can get this to play. This is from the RV Nautilus in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands. This is just a quick clip that they took from off of their vessel of our first Northwest Hawaiian Island submission. And as of just a couple of days ago, we were able to run this through the database, and this is a new individual. So we're excited for them and for us. But it is a pretty awesome video, and we thank them for submitting it to us as well. So as you can see, when we do get videos like this, we will capture the left side. So that's actually the shot that we captured, and then we'll use Photoshop to increase it to a 300 DPI before we can upload that into our database and run it through. So whale shark sightings across all of the Hawaiian Islands. You can see here we have quite the density on the leeward side of the islands. And we don't know if that is because the whale sharks are actually condensed on the leeward side, or if this is just where most of our effort is. Obviously, better water on the leeward side. Most of the tour operations go out of that area. So we're looking at density, but we can't say we're getting a full picture of the population yet for the Hawaiian Islands. What we are getting a full picture for are the leeward sides, where there is a lot of tourism action, so a lot of eyes on the water. In the future, one of our projects, or what we're hoping to do, is start aerial surveys. So similar to what they do with the North Atlantic right whale and some other whale species, we're hoping to do aerial surveys to give us a better picture of population density. Now, total reported whale shark sightings, obviously from 1991, that first sighting that we have, to now we have an N of 443. And what we're seeing is kind of this ebb and flow. The more years we collect data, the more it's kind of equaling out, right? So when we first started, we were getting anecdotal sightings, and people were like, oh, they're always here in the winter. We're seeing them December, January. We see them right in the middle of the summer, but as we start to collect more and more years, we're starting to see these actually equal out. So we're starting to see them every month of the year. We had a very busy April, May, and June. And then July, we didn't get any sightings from any of the islands. So it's interesting, this ebb and flow that we're seeing of these animals move in and out of our waters. But it's always a hit or miss. So there's no great month that you can say, hey, I want to go to Hawaii and see a whale shark. We can say they're always in our waters, but we just can't say, go here this month and you're going to see one. Now, the size distribution, what I was mentioning is the length that we're seeing here is that kind of adult, juvenile to adult. And then some of our ongoing projects. So this is what I get really excited about. The international cross-matching is what I mentioned earlier. The entanglement mitigation, that is my full-time work. So obviously that is something I'm very interested in. And then we're working on biopsies and satellite tagging. So this is a video, I'll let this play, of a collection of a biopsy sample here. I will try and do that again for you so you can watch it. So we use a Hawaiian pulse sphere with a biopsy tip, a typical biopsy tip that you'll use for a whale. And we're able to do a very quick collection. As you can see, there was no reaction from the whale shark. When you do attach a tag or take a biopsy, it's kind of like you're shooting concrete. They have very, very thick skin. And what we're looking at with these biopsies is we're working with Marine Megafauna Foundation and scientist Alex Watts, to basically look at the connectivity of our whale sharks on a genetic basis and connectivity to any of whale sharks around the world. So see if our whale sharks are fitting in genetically with theirs. So this is a photo from Darren Furbeck. Some of you may know him. And you can see the small little circle right there where we collected the biopsy. Oh, there it is bigger for you. And then we are also satellite tagging. So thanks to the Georgia Aquarium, they gave us 5 satellite tags, mini pads, and we're able to attach these to the animals and see where they're going to or coming from. This is going to be an annual project. You can see that mini pad hanging off the kind of left flank of the animal behind the dorsal fin. And this will help us understand, possibly with the entanglement mitigation, moving in and out of our waters, some of the threats that they may be facing. We did have one of our tags pop off about 237 miles directly west of Kona. So we're excited to see where the rest of these tags are going to be popping off and giving us data from. So we have 2 90-day tags on, 2 150-day tags on, and then I am out on the water almost every day, and we have 1 more 180-day tag. So these are pretty expensive pieces of equipment, and usually what we're fundraising for consistently, because this allows us to get a better, fuller picture in addition to the citizen science effort of to understand how to conserve these animals. So what we have found through these almost 5 years is that Hawaii is a unique location for whale sharks. So as I mentioned earlier, we spoke at the International Whale Shark Conference. Our location has a lot of similarities to St. Helena, which is off the western coast of Africa. But it is unique in that the types of animals we're getting, so the juveniles to adults, the size range, right? The sexes that we're getting, and how they're kind of moving in and out of our water. So we're getting, what we're seeing is about a 12% recite rate. And with that, they're believed to be staying in our waters, because we did a LIR, which is a lagged identification rate, about 3 to 5 days, and then kind of moving on. This will also be in our paper. You'll be able to read this shortly when it's published. But they are coming in and out. However, these animals are consistently here. So one may be here and leaving, and then we have others in our waters as well. So this is a very, very unique location. And speaking with other scientists around the world, this is really the only spot that we're seeing these large, very thick entanglements occurring. So what we're trying to understand, especially with the entanglement mitigation, is where they're picking this stuff up, so then we can start to work and try and fix that problem for them. Now, with that, I will go ahead and take any questions.
All right, that was so cool. And you guys are very busy over there. So thank you for all that you're doing and all of your effort and sharing your expertise. We love whale sharks, and I'm sure everyone listening wants to do everything they can to help protect them. We do have time for questions. So anyone here, feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then we can go through them. If you're listening in from Facebook Live, you can comment on the video, and then that question will be relayed to us. So I do see some questions already coming in, and we'll just start to work our way through. If
Sounds
that's
good.
okay. First question is, what do whale sharks eat?
Oh, that's a very good question. So they eat plankton, zooplankton. There has been anecdotal sightings off of Molokai that they're eating some nehu or small bait fish. Off of this island for many years, we had an offshore fish farm that pretty much any day you were out on the water, you could go by and see a whale shark or possibly encounter a whale shark. And that was likely because of the smells in the water, fish eggs, anything of that sort that was creating an ecosystem out in deep water. So that was attracting the whale sharks. But since that has broken free and is not in anymore, the sightings are a little more sporadic. So they will feed on a range of things, small bait fish, very small bait fish, but mainly plankton, zooplankton.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And how long do you think they live?
That's a very great question. It's thought they can live about 100 years, but there's no confirmation. Similar to different whale species, there's no confirmation on how long that actually is.
Right. And another question just about the endangered species list. Why are whale sharks not listed on them?
Yeah, so in the US, they're not considered on the Endangered Species Act because the government considers them a migratory animal through our waters. So while that may be true, obviously what we're looking at is how long they're spending in our waters, which is about 3 to 5 days, but they are consistently here. So what we're looking at eventually down the line is to be providing this information to lawmakers to say, yes, an individual may only be here for a short time, but we have numerous individuals in our waters at all times. And because of that, they do need protection.
Right. Well, I hope that is something that can happen.
Me too.
Someone asked if there were any volunteer opportunities with you.
Yeah, so we did stop taking volunteers and interns, obviously, for COVID for a couple of years, but we are starting to gear that back up. So if anyone is interested in a volunteer opportunity, send me an email. My email is just maria@hawaiiuncharted.org. I have a list of interested volunteers. And when we do have a project like a designated day that we're going out on the water for anything of that sort, or general projects that we need help with, we send out an email requesting help and if anyone is available. So if you are interested in that, just toss me an email and I will add you to our list.
And just to clarify, you're on the Big Island of Hawaii.
We are on the Big Island of Hawaii, so most of our dedicated efforts is out of the Kona Harbor. However, we do have volunteer ambassadors on other islands that spread the word for us, and if we try to get over to the other islands and do outreach and do efforts there. So we will take volunteers from any island, and we will try and get you as much involved as possible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Also, would you mind in the chat sharing where people can upload their photos?
Yeah.
And then maybe your email can go in there as well.
Yeah, of course.
We have Henry, who's a 9-year-old shark lover, listening in. So that's
Hello, Henry.
Thanks, Henry, for joining. Is it possible to look at the marine reserve near Hawaii, which I'm not entirely clear, maybe the national monument, which they were RV Nautilus was up there. So it's because your data is coming pretty much using almost citizen science, just people who encounter them, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So you're looking everywhere.
We are looking everywhere. And it's very nice that NOAA and the RV Nautilus, and they send it to us as well. So we appreciate from everything. One of my dear friends is heading up to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands this week on a research cruise. And even though it's for monk seals, we'll be keeping an eye out for whale sharks as well for us. So it's kind of a joint effort in that aspect.
It's a huge collaborative effort. Yeah. Do you have names for individual whale sharks, or just numbers that you assign to them?
We do. So if someone submits an animal and it is a new ID, we allow that person to name that animal. So you can find that all on our website, and we also do put it on our social media as well. So we have a catalog of all of our animals on there. You can see their names, where they were first sighted, which island they were first sighted on, and who submitted them. And you can actually sponsor an animal too. If you like a name or a photo of an animal, you're welcome to sponsor them. And if that animal is recited, we send you information about that animal.
Cool.
Yeah.
So fun. What is the largest whale shark sighted in Hawaii?
The largest whale shark sighted in Hawaii, I believe, I would have to look back on the data, but I want to say it was around 40 feet. And the longest one documented in general is around 60 feet.
Wow. Yeah. That's almost as big as, well, 60 feet, obviously longer than a humpback whale, but 40 is close to full-grown humpback whale. That's awesome.
Yeah.
A friend on Maui just posted a photo of diving with a whale shark on the backside of Molokai. Are people organizing tours of that?
So they are not organizing tours because our sightings are not set in stone, right? So there's no one place that you can go and say, I'm going to see a whale shark this day at this time. We do have a lot of people that come over to Kona because we have very deep water and we get a lot of sightings here that come out hoping to see a whale shark, but there's no guarantees that we can do that. So we don't run any tours. No one in the state of Hawaii runs any tours. But when people say, I want to see a whale shark in Hawaii, I say, just spend time on the water as much as you can. Obviously, you know, I've worked on the water for almost 20 years now, and it took me about 7 years before I saw my first one. So it's just time spent out there, eyes on the water, and hopefully you'll get lucky and come across a whale shark. They don't aggregate like they do in other places, like the west coast of Australia or in Mexico. If someone does want to see a whale shark, I can highly recommend places to go other places in the world. But Hawaii is a very unique location and they don't aggregate here.
So they're pretty solitary. Great. Another question, are your mini pat tags providing much location data other than the deployment and release date? Seems the light data from these tags are less useful at our latitude.
Yes, so the one that we did get back, so of the 4 that we have placed, we've gotten data from 1, and they are giving us location. They're giving us salinity, light, and movement. So it's not just the beginning and the end location, it does track that throughout. However, mini pat tags have about a 50% success rate. Most tags have about a 50% success rate, which is good and bad. But what we're trying to do, and what my colleague is actually here right now visiting from Whale Shark Mexico, Denny Ramirez, who is a very well-renowned whale shark scientist. We were talking about tags earlier today, and the creation of new tags that might be a little better for deeper water, or so they're not predated upon. With mini pats and tags in general, we see a lot of fouling on them the longer they're on an animal. And if a mini pat is trailing off an animal, sometimes it's predated upon by another shark. So we are collecting data from these, but usually when you put a tag on an animal, you have a 50% chance of getting it back.
Got it.
Yeah.
How close to shore do they typically swim? I know this might be could be all over the place.
No, it definitely can be. I've seen a lot offshore, and then I also swim in the swim lane, the Ironman swim lane here in the mornings, and we've seen whale sharks there. So that's 20 feet of water. and we also see them out in 6,000 feet of water. So it's varied. You just never know where you're going to see them. But we have a lot of spear fishermen here off the Kona coast that submit them, and they're not very far from shore at all.
Great. Someone else asked, and I kind of know the answer to this because I used to work for Pacific Whale Foundation, but do you ever get sightings submitted by Pacific Whale Foundation ecotours?
Yes, Pac Whale does help us out a lot. Stephanie Stack, one of their scientists, she submits a lot of sightings to us. So we collaborate with them as well, and we are very appreciative to them, what they do.
Yeah, I have quite a few friends. We were all crew members, and I have quite a few friends that got to swim or be with a whale shark in Molokini, and I missed it by, just a couple of days. It was always on my day off, and I was so jealous. But yeah, that's great. It really is cool. The marine conservation community in Hawaii is so connected and so supportive of all of the research going on. So it's great that everyone's willing to help.
It is. We all try and help each other. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And another question, we kind of touched on this because you have someone visiting who works in Mexico. Are you working at all with researchers out of La Paz in Mexico? We have a group who have been actively studying our groups of mostly juveniles and females since 2018 in the Sea of Cortez.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which group they're talking about, but it's likely Denny, who's just in the living room here. Denny Ramirez from Whale Shark Mexico is actually visiting, and she is the one that kind of inspired me to start Hawaii Uncharted and start studying whale sharks here. But she has been working out of La Paz for 25 years and studying their animals, and yeah, she's just in the other room. So we definitely work with them and kind of support each other and talk back and forth about what kind of tags are working, what's not working, so on and so forth. But yes.
Great. And Henry, our 9-year-old shark enthusiast, asked if whale sharks make any sounds.
Not that we know of, but it can sometimes seem like that when they do something called gulp foraging. So sometimes when they're on the surface of the water or just below, they'll kind of like open and close their mouth, and it will suck water in and kind of move it. And that water movement kind of makes some noises, but they do not make any specific noises.
I guess that's what makes seeing them so cool, is because one, you don't know where or when they're going to appear, and they're very quiet and elusive. So it could happen at any moment.
At any point, yeah. They usually hang in the upper 10 meters of the water column. So, when you are out there, always keep your eyes out. If you have polarized glasses, it's going to be your best chance to see them. Just kind of look for a very large blob.
Yeah. Oh, great. That's amazing. How do the whale sharks of Hawaii compare to those in Mexico?
Well, I was just talking to Denny earlier. They, since La Nina, they've been seeing a lot of females coming into the Sea of Cortez. So a lot of large females. She's actually working on a new ultrasound machine for them. And we don't see that many females. We see probably 74% males here. We have seen some females, but it's not common. So we're very much like St. Helena and places like Mozambique with that aspect. But yeah, they get to see a lot of the larger animals. So in Sea of Cortez and on the islands on the outside of Baja too.
Kind of going off of that, is there a hypothesis as to why? Where do you think, like, why are the juveniles here and not the big adults?
That is one question that we're hoping to figure out. So with starting this, we started with one question and now we have 1,000. So that's something that we're working on with other researchers within ourselves too. Like I was speaking with Denny earlier, they're working on confirming that an animal is pregnant and then attaching a tag to it, which would be allowing us to understand where pregnant females are going. And that is something that we could do down the line with, if we get an adult male coming through here, we can specifically try and tag an adult male to see where it goes. We are seeing a lot of right on that cusp of maturity. So we get a lot of those juvenile males where you have to be underneath the animal to see it. So it is something that we're trying to understand, and it opens a lot of questions for the future, which is something we're really excited about. This is, there's so many opportunities for learning here.
And going off of the finding pregnant females, has there ever been a documented whale shark birth?
There has. It was actually in an aquarium. I believe in
Okay.
Taiwan. I would have to look that up, but it was like 304 embryos, and they were all at different stages of development.
Wow.
So I believe it was in Taiwan aquarium, so, but I'd have to confirm that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is there any evidence that individual whale sharks travel between Australia and Hawaii?
There isn't yet, but that goes back to that wild book for whale sharks. So everyone submits to that, and we're able to compare through the international cross matching. So we are definitely looking at it, but so far what we have compared, our animals haven't matched anywhere else yet. I will put that caveat. It could happen down the line, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Great. Okay. So there's a few questions again about protection, anything being done to get them protection. You touched on that earlier of just showing evidence that they're there year round, even though not for very long, but there are multiple individuals that come through at different times. I'm just sifting through the remaining questions here. Yeah, is it possible for your organization to look at the marine monument or reserve near the sunken seamounts near Hawaii? I think we touched on that, just kind of wherever people are, they're hopefully looking out for that.
Yeah, we've also had submissions come from very far offshore, hundreds of miles offshore from commercial fishermen that are out there. So we thank them for those submissions as well.
Great. Humpback whales have protection. Could the same protection be added to visiting whale sharks? Hopefully.
Hopefully down the line. So the longer we have our data sets, we've only been going for 5 years, so we're going to need a much larger data set to present. Just showing these animals are here year round. But eventually, yes, we would hope that those protections, similar protections, could extend to whale sharks.
What is the behavior you see most often with your sightings? Travel, feeding, getting cleaned?
We see a lot of slow travel with our sightings. So we don't see a lot of feeding or gulp foraging or anything of that sort. We see a lot of slow travel until there is a certain amount of people in the water. And then we see stress-like behaviors like banking and sudden diving. Sometimes the animals tend to come back up, sometimes they don't. But slow entry into the water, parallel movements, that will all extend an encounter time. And we do offer on our website guidelines for ecotourism based on other countries that have been doing it a lot longer than we have. So if any boaters out there or ocean goers out there want to download them, they are available on our website.
Great. And someone had asked in the Q&A about contact information. So I just sent them that, typed it in.
Okay.
Do cookie cutter sharks attack whale sharks?
I haven't seen any cookie cutter bites on whale sharks. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I would have to go through the database with a fine-tooth comb, and that's something that we're going to actually be doing, is looking at scarring and either human-induced or animal-induced scarring for a future paper. So I will be diving into like combing over each photo with a photo and video with a fine-tooth comb. But I haven't seen any that I know of yet. We have seen photos of oceanic whitetips with whale sharks, but they tend to be rubbing on each other, so more of a cleaning behavior rather than any type of predation or anything like that sort.
Interesting. Cool. Okay, I think there's 3 more questions in the Q&A, and then we can wrap up. Do the whale sharks from La Paz come to Hawaii?
Similar to the Australia question, we don't know yet. So we have worked early on a couple of years ago straight with Denny, and so sent photos to her. And she's ran it through her database and no matches. But again, there's just been no matches to any other locality yet.
Okay, well, we'll just keep at it. What is the longest time between resites in your database?
The longest time is 5 years for a recite. And what we have seen is sometimes the animals, when they are recited, they're recited in the same area that they were cited the first time. But
Okay.
the longest between recites has been 5 years.
Okay. And then we talked a bit about volunteer information that can be found online or sending you an email. Otherwise, I think that that's it. And I'll go ahead and wrap up for us because it's almost 6:30 here. But Maria, thank you so much again for being here, sharing and answering all of the amazing questions from our audience members. And we're excited to see the paper and all of the more incredible research that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Before I get off, I'll share the link to the global paper that we were part of, and then I'll send it to you all when our other one comes out. So thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you everyone again for attending Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's Know Your Ocean Speaker Series, sponsored by the County of Maui Office of Climate Change, Resiliency, and Sustainability. Maui Nui Marine Resource Council is a nonprofit celebrating 14 years of working for clean ocean water, healthy coral reefs, and abundant native fish for the islands of Maui Nui. Our next Know Your Ocean Speaker Series event will take place on Wednesday, September 7th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. We'll be hosting David Fleetham to talk about his experience as an underwater photographer with great white sharks. To hear about signing up for this talk and to learn about other future presentations, please sign up for a free subscription to our monthly e-newsletter, Reef and Brief, at mauireefs.org. And a big announcement at MNMRC here. We are pleased to welcome Chase Martin as our new Communications, Community Outreach, and Development Manager. Chase has a Master of Advanced Studies degree in Marine Biodiversity and Conservation from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography at UC San Diego. He's bringing his communications expertise from his experiences working with Conservation International, Fishwise, and Scripps, where he has managed social media channels, website design, and community relations. We are thrilled to bring Chase to our team. You can support continued water quality monitoring by adopting your favorite beach or by becoming a trained water quality sampling volunteer with our water quality monitoring program, Hui o Kawaiola. This community-based water quality monitoring program, launched and conducted by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, the Nature Conservancy, and West Maui Ridge to Reefs Initiative in partnership with the State of Hawaii Department of Health Clean Water Branch, tests ocean water quality every 3 weeks at 29 locations in South and West Maui. Visit huiokawaiola.com for more information. Our reef-friendly landscaping program is halfway through its first pilot program using compost tea. Compost tea is a microbe and nutrient-rich liquid that is custom brewed according to specific locations and soil quality. Compost tea focuses on rebuilding soil health to fight diseases and restore soil microbiology. Maui Nui Marine Resource Council has been working with Hokunui Environmental Solutions, who brew the tea in Makawao, and then we've been applying it to a small ball field in Keopuolani Park through the County of Maui Parks and Recreation Department, an area of turf within the Wailea Community Association, and 3 tee boxes on the south course of the McKenna Golf and Beach Club. So far, we've seen an increase in microbial activity, increased water retention, and deeper root systems, and we're excited to complete the program by early 2023 to present and share final results. To learn more about our reef-friendly landscaping program, you can visit mauireefs.org or email info@mauireefs.org. When you donate to Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, you'll also be supporting our work to improve the ocean water quality in Ma'alaia Bay. Our projects include our oyster bioremediation project, which has caged oysters in the bay, filtering sediment and other pollutants out of the water. We're also stabilizing the slopes of Pohakea watershed to prevent sediment runoff by planting vetiver grass, which is a non-spreading, deep-rooted, drought and fire-resistant plant that keeps soil from washing into the ocean during rainstorms. If you've missed some or all of tonight's presentation, you'll be able to view it on Facebook Live on our Maui Nui Marine Resource Council Facebook page. It will also be posted on our YouTube channel, Maui Reefs. And last but not least, we want to thank all of our sponsors and supporters who are making our work possible. And we also wish to thank individual donors like you and for attending these webinars. Mahalo for making a difference. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you next month. Aloha.